Thank you, Di. I think your point about the kind of McDonaldisation of the education process here is very apt, and I think to the extent that there are great educational outcomes from this institution, they come from the wonderful work of the academic staff and support staff, despite the university management, not because of it. I think it's time we heard from a current student. Our next speaker is Priya D. Priya is an enrolled student at the campus here, and she's also an elected member of the Student Union Council. And she's been involved in campus politics here for quite some time. So she's got quite an interesting perspective on both the university as an institution, but also the nature of political life, and also the importance of this set of buildings here, as tired as they may look to some people. As I was saying at the outset, these are student union spaces. And part of the agenda, I think, is that this is not just about reimagining a space, it's also about an attack on the student union to weaken the strength of the student union. So to talk on these issues, I would like to welcome to the microphone Priya D.
All right. Okay, so this morning, the Vice-Chancellor of UQ, Peter Hoy, I wonder if he's listening somewhere, sent a bizarre, rambling, sort of semi-psychotic email to the entire student body, which was in a furious response to this protest taking place today, where he laid totally bare that the interests of the university administration are international competitiveness, that is their first and last consideration, the wants and desires of students and staff be damned. And so they were furious that anyone would oppose their $300 million redevelopment of the UQ Union Complex. What you might ask is, how come UQ has $300 million to spend on destroying a historic building, but they can't pay our staff and lecturers on part-time or full-time contracts? Why was it that UQ was crying poor when last year they accepted a $40 million donation from the Dow Chemical Company, which was the sole producer of napalm and Agent Orange, the chemical weapons from which people in Vietnam are still suffering the consequences. They were crying poor when they justified taking that money, blood money, last year, but they've got $300 million to blow on destroying a historic building. Why was that okay? And then what they're doing now, there's another protest this afternoon, actually. This is a good day of jumping through protests for me, against the Ramsay Centre for Western Civilization, which is trying to establish a bachelor in that name, which is just a right-wing think tank trying to buy space on universities to spread propaganda. And propaganda that's backed by a deeply racist ideology as well. They're justifying that on the basis of funding for the humanities, but they've got $300 million to spend destroying a historic building. So what you've got to ask is, what are your priorities to the university administration? But we know what it is. They want this university to be a business. They want it to be a profit-making factory. So they want to pump more money out of students, and they want to pump more labour out of staff with little consideration for their well-being. And so part of destroying the student union complex at UQ is severing the ties that this university has with radical activism, because they don't want students to question the neoliberal university today. So they don't want students today to do what was done in the 70s in the past, where thousands of students and staff came together to protest imperialism, to protest the Vietnam War. They don't want students to get the idea that maybe that is what university is for. They don't want students to have an idea that maybe you should look to unions to change the world and stand with striking workers, like students did in the 1980s when CQEP workers, the striking CQEP workers, which who brought Queensland to a standstill and nearly brought that dictator, I think some of his relatives around the campus today, Joe Bjelke-Petersen, they nearly brought that premier to his knees and rallied on campus with students when the university tried to give Joe Bjelke-Petersen a doctorate. They don't want students to remember any of this legacy. They don't want students to protest against attacks on civil liberties. They don't want students to protest attacks on race. They don't want students to protest racist attacks. They don't want students to think that university should be about something other than being part of a factory line, get a degree, get out of here as quickly as possible. And it's worth saying that far from encouraging this view of the university, the administration actually carries out discipline against students who do try to protest injustice in our society. There's a prominent socialist on campus who has more than 100 charges of discipline against him, primarily for handing out leaflets to students, which is apparently a tremendous crime. Well, good on him, and let's hope for hundreds more, I suppose. But the student union, what the administration doesn't want from the student union as well, is a body that will actually fight them. They want the student union to be a pliant arm of the administration. Organise a party or two. I hear there was one last week. Organise, a couple of clubs to do stuff on campus, which they can put in their marketing for why someone should bother enrolling here. But they don't want the student union to do what it did in the past, which is fight the administration when they try to attack us, which is fight the government when they try to attack us, which is actually to be a block standing between the interests of students and staff and the interests of profit. So they want to, by destroying the student union building, they are fully cementing their ideal vision of a corporate clinical university. I think that sucks. That really sucks. And so therefore it's right to protest today. And so I want to give props to the organisers of this campaign for sticking it out over the years with some principles that society should be better than this, that it's right to fight back, and it's right to hold true to what you believe in, regardless of what the rich and powerful say. So thanks people for coming today.
Thank you, Priya.